Hey everybody, it's Preston here, aka Godsaw Hawk, and welcome to your NXT Wargames review. I know it's a little bit later than normal, but I had to take Brandon home because those game night and there is a curfew. So, around here, I don't know about you guys, but there's a curfew here in California, the Bay Area, due to the whole pandemic situation. So we have to be here before 10. Stay home. Can't stay out until after 10. So I had to take Brandon home very quick and get myself kind of prepared, kind of get my thoughts out, kind of really let the show kind of sink in, and kind of let everybody on social media kind of express their thoughts. I will say this: I'm actually quite surprised on some of the feedback. On one hand, when I go on Saw Monster where he did his poll, a lot of people seem to enjoy this takeover, but some more notorious YouTubers like TwitWow, I could be wrong on the TwitWow thing, but I think TwitWow and even Alex, just Alex, aka formerly known as the Lexman, seemed they didn't really care for the show. I don't really know what those guys were really looking for in terms of an NXT takeover show. I'll say this was not the best takeover ever. This was not even the best takeover of the year. The best takeover of the year still goes to Takeover Portland, Oregon. Takeover Portland, back in January. That is still the NXT takeover of the year. I stand by. That was one of the best takeovers they ever produced. But I am going to stand by and say this. I don't care who you are. Out of all the pandemic specials, out of all the pandemic takeovers that we had, from Takeover 30, which in my opinion I think was the weakest of all the pandemic shows. Yeah, Takeover 31, which I thought was good. They had some great matches, but again, felt like I thought NXT Takeover Wargames of the year was by far the best out of the pandemic takeovers. And look, not everyone's gonna agree. You got people like Alex who are gonna critique the show, who have flat out said that they don't really care for the NXT product. At least right now, at least the pandemic, they don't really care for it. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say NXT is killing it, but it's not trash. Raw and SmackDown are still bad. I mean, Raw is even worse. SmackDown needs to have a good storyline or two. Raw is just unbearable. It's only slightly better the last few weeks, but not by much. But it does perplex me that there are some people out here who watch the show thinking the show was not good. I'm telling you right now, this is the best takeover you're going to get in terms of pandemic specials. So if you didn't like this pandemic takeover, you're probably not going to like the other stuff they did. Now, I can understand because of some of the finishes and some of the spots that might have turned you off, and that's fine. If there's some stuff in the match that kind of killed your vibe for you, okay, I can see how that can annoy you, but that doesn't mean that the entire show is bad. Okay, some of the interference, some of the finishes, okay, yeah. And there's some matches that really didn't need to be on here, but it wasn't like it hurt the show. To me, there was not really one bad match on the show. You open up with the War Games, which was great. You had your appetizers in the middle. They were all good appetizers. And then you get the main event, which was kick-ass. It's like you get your drink, your nice beverage with some bread. The drink's delicious. The bread tastes great. Then you go to the appetizer, which is like your salad. Maybe some more bread, and it's all very good. And then you get to your meal, your main dish, a nice juicy steak, and it tastes fucking delicious. It's fantastic. The price is worth admission. That's one thing I think everyone can at least agree on. If you didn't really care for the show, which again, I don't understand what you were looking for, but if you didn't care for the show, everyone can unanimously agree that that main event was fantastic. We can all agree on that at least. Can we all at least agree that the main event was great? Let's all agree on that. But again, I'm not Alex. I'm not TwitWell. I'm not going to tell them what they can and cannot like. Although I would appreciate guys like the house would just please stop with the shots of black card hate on social media, like tweeting, I don't get shots, I don't get shots, we fucking get. Ease up on that, please. But if they didn't like the show, that's on them. I'm here to tell you, I enjoyed the show. Last couple of takeovers, like I said, in terms of pandemic, they were good, but they never felt like a big deal. This one actually felt the closest thing to a big deal takeover. This was by far their best in terms of pandemic. I'll stand by that, but it is not their best of the year. Like I said, their best was still Portland. So I'm going to try to go through the card quickly and some of the moments in these matches. Because again, I'm tired. I got to go work in the morning. And I kind of want to relax for the next few hours before I head straight over to bed and I got to get ready for my work. For the beginning of the week when I work. Which should be fun. So we open up with the women's Wargames match. Team Shotzi, my girl Shotzi, versus Team Candice. Shotzi Blackheart, Rhea Ripley, NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai, and Ember Moon. Taking on Candice LeRae, Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai, and the heel Toni Storm. I thought this was a great match. I thought this was a great opener. Again, not the greatest Wargames match. I still think the best Wargames was the main event, but we'll get into that a little bit more. But the match was good. Now, the one thing I was kind of confused about was the whole arrangement. Usually when you do these Wargames matches, usually the man advantage or the person advantage usually goes to the heels. This time went to baby faces, which I always thought that was kind of weird. I was not a fan of that. But what they did here, I kind of dig it. So you start off with Ember Moon and Dakota Kai. And I gotta stop right here because Dakota Kai took some nasty bumps. She was selling her ass off and took these nasty bumps. So Dakota Kai, in my opinion, gets an MVP award for just taking the bumps that she did. That woman's insane. And Dakota Kai, this is not an insult. She's not a big girl. She's a little smaller. She's flexible. But goddamn, she's tough. So I gotta give Dakota Kai a lot of credit. That woman took some nasty bumps. So it started off with Ember and Dakota going back and forth. Then Shotzi comes out and it goes to a 2-on-1. Raquel comes out, takes control. Then we see Rhea Ripley. Then we see Toni Storm get involved. I think earlier, actually, it was Shotzi Blackheart brought a toolbox with a crowbar. And I just went, fuck. I just went, what the hell are you doing? This woman's trying to kill people. But again, this is Shotzi Blackheart. If you've seen her wrestle before, you know that she's not your average woman athlete. She's not just some hot body. This woman will go ahead and hardcore wrestle you like it's CZW. Trust me, I know. So after that, Rhea Ripley gets involved, and we see Toni Storm. And then we see Io Shirai, the NXT Women's Champion, try to get into the match. And Raquel is keeping the door closed and trying to shove Io out of the ring. And Io's like putting ladders through the War Games. So Io's saying ladders in this match. I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing? Io's crazy. Io's insane. So she's putting ladders in the ring, and Raquel's trying to stop. Raquel and Toni Storm are trying to stop Io from getting in the match. Because they realize it's going to be a 4-on-3. So they're trying to keep it even as possible. And they succeed. They keep knocking her out before she could get in the War Games match. Then we see Candice. Candice, I think, got rid of Io. She knocked her out. Candice got a ring, so now it's a 4-on-3, but it's Team Candice. So I kind of like that. The heels were not stupid. They were smart. They know they had a disadvantage, but yet they played that up. They had a plan. That's the thing I can kind of get behind. They took a disadvantage and made it to an advantage. So basically, it's a 4-on-3. There's ladders in the ring, there's chairs, kendo sticks, and they're all these women are just beating the crap out of each other. So Io Shirai decides, I want a part of this. She goes on the top of the cage, one of the cages. She got this crazed, happy, energetic look about her. She puts a trash can. She takes a trash can and puts it on herself. Like she literally is in a trash can. She's standing while a trash can's on her. And then she just flies into the pile of women. Now I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck are you doing? Are you insane? Io's insane. She's been taking her lessons from the Shane McMahon school or Jeff Hardy's school of wrestling. This woman's insane. So all these women are just beating the crap out of each other. Wargames officially begins. These women are just beating the crap out of each other, brawling, sending each other to the cage, whack each other candlesticks chairs. Dakota Kai ends up doing a jumping stop off the turnbuckle onto Io Shirai, who was in a trash can. That looked like it sucked. Amber Moon did an eclipse, diving off the top rope and grabbed Dakota Kai and slammed her face onto a chair that was sitting in the same position, and smacked her head on there. Dakota looked like she fucking died. I'm just like, Jesus. These women are literally trying to kill each other here. Yeah, then we had Shotzi. She knocks Candice off a ladder. They set up a ladder. And she knocks Candice onto a couple of chairs. Excuse me. And Candice is lying on the chairs. She grabs one of them, and Shotzi goes to do her diving senton off the top of the ladder. And this ladder isn't like a tall ladder. It's maybe like, I think it's like an 8-footer ladder. So it's not that tall of a ladder compared to others that we've seen. But she jumps off to do a diving senton, and Candice blocks it with a chair of her own. She grabs one of the chairs that she was underneath, and she tries to use it to shield herself. The problem was she didn't use the chair on the flat surface. She used the chair upside down where the hard edges and all that are. So when Shotzi landed, Candice looked like she hurt her arm because of the impact, and then Shotzi looked like she hurt her back bad because she landed on the wrong side of the chair. Brandon pointed that out, and he said, that sucked. That was insane, Shotzi. What the fuck are you doing? Then towards the end, there's a ladder set right between the ropes because there's a 2-ring War Games. So there's like a log bridge ladder, a bridge ladder right between the rings, like bridged. And Raquel ends up taking Shotzi with one arm. That basically does a one-hand choke slam and puts Io right through the middle of the ladder right through the middle of the rings. Smashes, just splits the thing in half, and then goes recover and pins Io. She pinned the NXT Women's Champion. So in hindsight, this means Raquel Gonzalez not only just pinned the NXT Women's Champion, won the match for her team, but it looks like the next match is going to be Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez. If you would have asked me about a title match between these two like a year ago, I would have said, no way. Raquel, she's new. She hasn't really done anything to impress me. But when Raquel had that match with Rhea on NXT a few months ago, she really opened my eyes, and she opened a lot of people's eyes too. Like, that was a great match, a great physical match, and she really showed that Raquel isn't just some big girl. She's not just some tall bodyguard, enforcer. She can go. She's not a high flyer or anything, but for a woman her size, similar to how Rhea Ripley's built, she's not bad at all. She's improved immensely in this ring for the last few months, so gotta give her credit. And look, it's a fresh match. It's a fresh match for Io Shirai. I mean, you could have done Io Candice LeRae, but how many times have we seen these two go at it? They just finished off a feud. Io Dakota, I wouldn't mind saying, but they just had a match. I mean, really, the only other match you could have done was probably Toni Storm and Io Shirai. But again, they've kind of fought before. They've fought a few times. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing again this time with a heel Tony Storm and a babyface tweener Io Shirai for the championship. But Raquel is at least somebody new. Is it the best match you can do? No. There's probably a few other matches I could think of that would be better, but Raquel's not a bad choice. And at the end, it just makes her look dominant. And here's the thing. Some of these women are going to get called up, like a Rhea Ripley, like an Io Shirai. Some of these women are going to be called up. Whether we like it or not, these women are going to get called to the main roster, and you need women to replace them. You need new bodies. That's why they're pushing Shotzi. That's why you brought back Ember Moon and Toni Storm to help build these other women up. You know, they want to build Dakota Kai more. They want to build Raquel Gonzalez. That's why they're doing stuff with Xia Li now. This whole weird storyline. You need women. If they're going to be called up, especially like I said, Rhea Ripley getting called up, you need that new dominant enforcer for the women's division, and Raquel could be that woman. Now, does that mean Raquel's going to win the NXT Women's Championship from Io? I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you. Because at the end of the day, I don't know what their plans. Because Io's held on to the NXT Women's Championship a lot longer than I honestly thought she would. But I guarantee you, I think they're going to do Raquel and Io Shirai. And I'm pretty sure they're going to do that match on TV. I don't see that doing that for a takeover. That doesn't scream takeover. But maybe they do that for a TV match. And who knows, maybe Raquel can actually win, and maybe there's a friction between her and Dakota Kai. You know? Or better yet, there's somebody that's been missing. Mercedes Martinez. Maybe after Io defense against Raquel, maybe Mercedes Martinez returns. Because we haven't seen her ever since she got disbanded from Retribution. So maybe for a takeover, they build to Mercedes Martinez versus Io Shirai. Because I don't know when the next takeover. I don't think the next takeover is until, I think maybe February or March. Because usually they would do it at the Royal Rumble time, but they did a takeover a month early. So I'm wondering maybe they'll save it for February or March. Who knows? Maybe this Xia Li storyline that they're doing, maybe it's going to be Xia Li or whoever this individual is that's controlling Xia Li. Maybe it's her. Again, there's some options here. But at the end of the day, I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to do Raquel Gonzalez and Io Shirai. I don't see that being a takeover, but I can see that definitely being a TV title match. But at the whole, I thought this was a very fun women's Wargames match. So this was a great opener. It was the right opener. As I said, if you're going to do two Wargames matches, which me personally, I'm not too fond of. But if you're going to do women's Wargames with 5 matches, I open with the Wargames and end with the Wargames. So they did it right. Next, Tommaso Ciampa versus Timothy Thatcher, 1-on-1. I thought this match was good. But this is going to be the type of match that a lot of people are not going to be fond of. It's a more striking, submission, hard style, gritty match. So if you're one of the guys that kind of likes the more MMA, grappling, hard-hitting matches, then this was the type of match that you probably enjoyed the most. But again, matches like this isn't going to be for everybody. I enjoyed it. I thought it was hard-hitting. I thought it was great. It really made Timothy Thatcher, although he lost, made Timothy Thatcher look strong. In defeat, he didn't look weak. One thing I will say, though, I'm not a fan of Tommaso Ciampa. When he came back months ago, it looked like he was a heel. And I thought, this is great. I'm happy he's a heel. Because he just works better as a heel. But then all of a sudden, they just slowly turn almost like an anti-hero babyface. Out of clear blue, I'm like, what happened? This is a man that took out Jake Atlas. It seemed like he was going to be going a program with Kyle O'Reilly. And out of nowhere, it just like they scrapped that storyline. They turned babyfaces going after people like Timothy Thatcher and all these, and Velveteen Dream, who are heels. I just don't understand where that concept came from. I don't know if that was because Finn Balor was injured. They didn't know if he was going to be gone. he had to relinquish the belt. So they want like a top babyface or top guy like Ciampa as a babyface, although now they kind of have Adam Cole now. And then the Spirit Era who are babyfaces now. So I don't know exactly what the deal is, but Ciampa I think should go back to being a heel. Because that's, I think, a better role. Plus, a heel Ciampa versus a tweenerish Finn Balor would be a great takeover match for the NXT Championship. I do say that would be a fun match to do. But this match was, again, hard-hitting, striking. Ciampa, Timothy Thatcher beat the crap out of him. Ciampa, I think, got Thatcher with one of his hard-hitting knee strikes with his brace. And it popped, I don't know, his cauliflower in Timothy Thatcher's ear, but Thatcher's ear was bleeding. It was leaking. But honestly, it made Thatcher look more badass. It was like when Nia Jax accidentally punched Becky Lynch on episode of Raw, and they had that shot with Becky was in the attendance, and she had her arms out, and her nose was bloody up, and walking up all confident. I was like, dude, that's fucking badass. I hate Nia Jax for ruining the Ronda Rousey in that dream match at Survivor Series, but that moment was still very damn cool looking. It made Becky into a badass. So I gotta admire that. See, blood is a good thing to WWE. When it's done right, it's done right. But clearly this was not intentional, but I don't care what anybody says. Adding blood to certain wrestlers always makes a huge difference. So this was not a flashy match. Ciampa did win with the Widow's Bell. And then these two kind of just stared at each other. So I don't know if they're going to have a rematch. They might. They could have a rematch, maybe on TV. They could have a rematch maybe in a fight pit match. Jason, the Saw Monster, gave that idea of maybe doing another fight pit match. Thatcher and Matt Riddle had a fight pit match. I thought that was a really fun match. Maybe Thatcher wants a rematch. He challenges Ciampa to a fight pit match, and he wins that match. It's possible. It is possible. They could do that. Feud doesn't have to end right away. They could turn this to a couple of matches on TV. Really, just the story of this match just felt a little rushed. Maybe they drag this out a little bit more and add more story elements to this. This would have been more of a takeover-worthy match, but the match itself I thought was very good. It was hard-hitting, it was submission, but again, not everyone's going to enjoy this type of match. If you don't like this hard-hitting MMA type style, you probably did not enjoy this. But if you're open to, like me, and just want to see a good match or a good fight, then you probably love this match. Next, easily the weakest match of the card, strap match, Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis. The story of these matches, I never got really into. Cameron Grimes scared Dexter Lumis, and they decided, well, we're going to have a strap match. So before the match even starts, Grimes has his own strap. He's saying like, no, I want to use my own strap. And referees are talking, and Lumis like, okay, are you fine with using Grimes' own strap, another strap for this match? Lumis doesn't say a word, and that's basically, okay, you can. And before the match starts, Cameron Grimes just assaults Dexter Lumis. He just attacks him a good couple minutes before the match. And then Lumis makes a comeback, wraps his wrist around the other end of the strap, and the strap match begins, and these two just beat the crap out of each other. Again, I would not say this was a takeover-worthy match, but I thought if this was a TV match, I thought it was very good. Dexter Lumis, I like him, and I don't like him at the same time. It's weird. Dexter Lumis, on one hand, is a great character, and as an athlete, he's been great. But there is something about him that's missing. And I think the biggest problem with him is his personality. He doesn't really have a personality. He doesn't do a lot of talking. And because of that, we don't really get to know Dexter Lumis a whole lot. But Cameron Grimes, he's a great athlete, but he's entertaining as all hell. Everyone went from, Cameron Grimes, ugh, who cares about this guy, to now he's one of the best things in NXT. Guys like Twitwell are huge fans of Cameron Grimes. Jess Alex, the Lex-Man, he's a fan of Cameron Grimes. Jay Saw Monster, he's a big fan of Cameron Grimes. And you know how all those guys are very critical in terms of wrestling in their own ways of what they like and what they don't like. So if all those guys can unanimously agree that Cameron Grimes is super entertaining, then that tells you something. That tells you something that Cameron Grimes is doing something right. But Dexter Lumis ends up winning. He trips Cameron Grimes into a chair in the ring, and he locks in his sleeper submission, whatever it is, that MMA submission hold. I don't know what you call it, that variation of a sleeper hold. And Cameron Grimes taps out. Again, not, I would say the weakest match. It was the weakest match. But it wasn't a bad match. It's just, again, that match didn't feel takeover. I will admit that. That match didn't really feel takeover worthy. I think honestly, I kind of wish they had an NXT Cruiserweight title match. If you want to do Loomis and Grimes, I would just done that match at least on NXT on TV. If you had done that on TV, I think that would have been fine. That would have been a better time to do that match. Not really a takeover. That doesn't mean the match was bad. It's just I just think that match didn't really need to be on takeover. But it wasn't long, but it wasn't short. It got a good amount of time. Almost 13 minutes. So not a bad time for it. Then we get a triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. We have Leon Ruff, not Leo Rush. Leon Ruff defending against Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest. You know, the story was Leo and Ruff end up getting chosen by Gargano by a rigged wheel for open challenge for NXT North American Championship. And Gargano was just taking control because he believed that Leon Ruff was just a jobber. He was a joke. You know, Priest was outside because he got screwed out of the North American Championship by Gargano. He kind of distracted Gargano, and Leon Ruff did like a crucifix type roll up and pinned Gargano off of basically a fluke. And the story was that Johnny and even Priest making some jokes saying that, look, Leon Ruff's just a joke. He's kind of a joke. He was never a real champion. He's a joke. And Leon Ruff flat admitted, like, look, I'm tired of being called a joke. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm a scrawny guy, but I'm tired of being looked at as a joke. So I want to defend my title against both of you. And we had this match. This was a very good match. You know, Leon Ruff, he's a very small guy. Okay, there's no muscle in this guy. I think this guy would be better in the Cruiserweight division, at least for now. I think if you would put this guy in the Cruiserweight division right now, I think that would really help the Cruiserweight division out a lot. Because he's got that underdog vibe. And if they can't find someone like a Santos Escobar, I think would be much more fitting for him. And that's not a bad thing because the Cruiserweight division could use some life. And Leon Ruff is a Cruiserweight, and he's already got part of a big program. So that could be a good way to kind of transition to Cruiserweights for right now and kind of build his character up more. So Leon Ruff is good. He's small, but he's very good. But, you know, in this match, you know, you had Priest and Gargano fighting. Like, they didn't want anything to do with Leon Ruff. He was like the odd man. But Leon wasn't taking their shit. He was fighting back. But unfortunately, it made Damian Priest too mad because Priest then did Razor's Edge and tossed Leon Ruff from the outside into a barricade outside and completely crushed the barricade. The barricade collapsed. Leon Ruff at that point was just dead, and he got carried out. Not on a stretcher, but a few referees and attendants carried him to the back. And for a few minutes, we never saw him. You know, it was Gargano and Priest fighting, and they're going at. After maybe like 2 or 3 minutes later, Leon Ruff comes back out. I do admit, if you were going to sell that, he should have been out at least a few extra minutes. If they would have kept a few extra minutes off of that, then that spot would have been more realistic. But again, it's fucking wrestling, so. But Leon Ruff ended up coming back, and he held his own for a bit, but towards the end, you know, he looked like Priest was going to win. But Gargano has been having these ghost face. Probably all the extras from the new Scream 5 movie that's coming out in 2020. You had 3 Ghostface characters, and then you had another. There was like 6. Dan Priest jumps off the ring on both sides and gets rid of all 6 members of the Ghostfaces, all the Scream cast. He's making a comeback, and it looks like once again he's in control. He's going to win. And out of nowhere, a seventh Scream cast member, Ghostface, with a large pipe, just whacks Damian Priest in the back. And then we see Gargano hit his slingshot DDT and pin Leon Ruff to become the first ever 3-time North American champion. And under that hood was Austin Theory. Because a few months ago, Austin Theory was doing a story where he was losing all the time. He was getting TV time, but he was losing all the time on TV. You know, find guys like Bronson Reed and Damian Priest, and was just losing. And one of the last matches he had was with Gargano, and he had one hell of a fight, and Gargano kind of like appreciated it. I was like, huh, you're kind of good. But Austin Theory shortly later was like, I quit NXT. We haven't seen him since, and now he's back under under the Ghost face, and he helped Gargano out. So I think, in my opinion, this is going to be a long run. I think eventually this is going to lead to an Austin Theory and Gargano feud. Now, I don't know if that means Theory's going to go babyface, but in my opinion, I think it's eventually going to lead to a Gargano and Austin Theory feud for that North American Championship. I do believe that. Partnerships like this don't last. So I guarantee you these two are going to have a match at TakeOver one day. And they're going to fight for that North American Championship. Austin Theory ended up being the guy underneath, which was kind of predictable. I kind of figured that. But what I want to know is, who the hell are the other 6 guys? I guess they're all Retribution members. Hey, look, Retribution, we found your missing teammates. But Gargano's the new champion. And that's fine. And the match itself was very good. I've seen better triple threats, but I've seen way worse. This was one of the good ones. The finish, I can understand why the finish might seem a little off-putting, but then again, Gargano's a heel. You know, he's been teasing the whole ghost face stuff. So we kind of figured this is a triple threat. There's no DQ. We kind of figured ghost faces were going to get involved. And they did. Main event. It was the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish versus Team McAfee, consisting of Pete Dunne, the NXT Tag Team Champions Birch and Lorcan, and their team captain, Pat McAfee. I would say this was by far the best match of the night. This was the match of the night, in my opinion, but I think a lot of people will say this was probably their match of the night. Start with Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne. Great way to start off, and because Pete Dunne won the ladder match a couple of weeks ago, he got the man advantage for his team. So after 4 minutes, we had, I believe it was only Lorcan came out. Only Lorcan came out, and he and Pete Dunne just attacked Kyle O'Reilly. There was Bobby Fish. And then we see Danny Burch come out, and this guy grabbed something from underneath the ring. Something in an orange bag. I thought there were like kendo sticks in there. But it turns out they were cricket bats. A couple of cricket bats that Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Lorcan took turns using, and they just beat the crap out of only Lorcan or Fish and O'Reilly. Out came Roderick Strong. Got involved, and it started becoming more of a 3-on-3 match, and then Pat McAfee came out. This time he grabbed tables. He grabbed a couple of chairs, but then he grabbed tables. And on each table it was Undisputed Era logo with their last name. You had one with like Fish's name, you had one with Cole's name, Strong's name, and you had with one O'Reilly. And so Pat McAfee didn't do a whole lot, but he ended up putting Roderick Strong through the Roderick Strong table by doing a great moonsault. So at this point, they were just kicking the crap out of each other, and Adam Cole comes out and realizes it's 4-on-1 right now because the other members of Undisputed Era are laid out. And Cole ain't stupid. He's like, okay. He goes to the ring, gets a chair, slides underneath the ring, in the ring, grabs a fire extinguisher, and he just sprays all the members of Team McAfee. Gets in the ring and starts wailing and fighting back. And at that point, it's just mass chaos. I can't tell you all the spots. I'll tell you a few that I remember on the top of my head. Yeah, Pat McAfee on top of the cage doing a Basically a lazier version, more of just falling with style version of a swanton bomb. You crash through all the pile of bodies standing up. You had Roderick Strong doing a splash onto Pete Dunne through, I think it was only lurking through a table. I think they were supposed to powerbomb Pete Dunne onto Lorcan or Birch, I don't remember which one it was, onto the table, and it was supposed to break, but it didn't. So that's when Strong improvised and then just did a splash. Adam Cole then, I guess, launched. I don't remember if it was suplex or just kind of launched it, but he shoved McAfee off one of the aprons and he flew half across the ring in the back of his head and shoulders, crashed through, I think it was the Adam Cole table. We see Pete Bodyfish spear a member of Team McAfee through the Bodyfish table that was laid on a ramp on the middle of the ring. And so, like I said, they're just mass chaos, and I can't go through every single spot because so much shit happened. But towards the end, we see Adam Cole is going for the Panama Sunrise. He hits the Panama Sunrise onto Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee kicked out. That was the one thing I do admit I did not care for. Someone like Pat McAfee should not have kicked out of the Panama Sunrise. I think if Pete Dunne at least would have broken it up, that would have made it a little bit better. That's my one really gripe about that match. I don't think Pat McAfee should have kicked out of that Panama Sunrise. But that's a small nitpick. But then Pete Dunne gets involved, and Pete Dunne hits this bitter end. And he launches him ribs first into a chair in sitting position. And Cole, the way he took this, it fucking sucked. It looked like he broke his ribs. Fucking Adam Cole, you're a crazy motherfucker. And then we see Roderick Strong running, and he grabs Pete Dunne, which, by the way, Pete Dunne looks like he got taller. He looks taller, but not only that, he's also a lot leaner, and he's been working out. Roderick Strong launches this guy in the air. I mean, launches him. And then does this backbreaker. That double knees backbreaker, all in fluid motion. I just went, holy shit. And then towards the end of the match, though, we see Kyle O'Reilly launch himself from one of the top ropes and does a diving knee onto Owen Lorcan, which a chair is placed on his head. And the knee just crashes onto the chair, which just crushes Owen Lorcan, and he covers Oni and wins the match. So Kyle O'Reilly, who started the match, ends up winning the match for his team. He pins one half in the NXT Tag Team Champions. I expect Kyle O'Reilly to pick a part of his choosing to challenge for the NXT Tag Team titles. I think that's where they're going to go with this now. And Owen Lorcan was bleeding from underneath the eye, and his mouth was bleeding. So clearly made contact. That's just some of the stuff that happened. I can't go every single detail of what happened because this match was just chaos. I thought the very first Wargames, I actually went back and watched it. I thought it was a great Wargames in terms of NXT. I rewatched the Undisputed Era team versus Team Ricochet. That was actually a better match, I thought. Yeah, the first Women's Wargames, I thought, although it was basically a 2-on-1, 2-on-4 handicap match, I thought that was a great match. Then you did the Team Ciampa versus Team Undisputed, which was another great Wargames. Yeah, the Women's Wargames were here, which I thought was a great physical bout. And then you had this one, which was easily one of the best Wargames matches. This might actually have been my favorite. I'm not too sure yet. At least in terms of NXT. I'll have to rewatch this match and then rewatch the Team Ricochet ones. When I get back in the Wargames mood, I start rewatching all the Wargames, I'll make a decision. But this was by far one of the better Wargames matches they've ever done. Fantastic main event to end the show. The end is strong. You had some very good appetizers in the middle. And at the very end, you got your nice juicy steak, and it was all worth it. This was a thumbs up show. I don't understand why some people would kind of be complaining about the show like it wasn't good. I can understand if some of the matches didn't feel takeover worthy. Look, I mean, Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes was not takeover worthy. I'll admit that. Thatcher and Ciampa was not really takeover worthy, but those were still good matches for what they were. Thought the three-way was very good for what it was. But the two War Games were by far takeover quality. Excuse me. Whew. Choking for there. And you can say, and all of you can say, well, you're a Shotzi Blackheart fan, so I could be biased. And you can say that. But again, I'm a guy that got to commentate one of Shotzi's matches. And actually got to book her for one of the shows. For one of my wrestling shows that I used to be part of. So, suck it. But all in all, I left this show happy. Like I said, the last couple pandemic takeovers, I thought they were good, but there weren't really anything like groundbreaking about them. This was the closest thing we got to a takeover. Portland was still the best takeover of this year, but in terms of the second best, this was by far the best. In terms of the second best of takeovers, and by far the best of the pandemic War Games. Again, I just don't understand how you can look at this show, watch this show, and feel disappointed. If you legit felt disappointed after this show, do me a favor, just don't watch NXT anymore. And just give up on the product. Because if this show didn't leave you satisfied and happy, don't ever watch NXT again, and don't watch NXT for a very long time. Because this is probably the best we're going to get in terms of these pandemic specials. In terms of the pandemic takeovers, this is the best we're probably going to get. This is probably going to be the best we're going to get. We could get better. We probably could get better, but this was the closest thing we got to an old school takeover. And I will say this, the Packed and Crown Noses were very obvious. That got annoying. But then again, I would rather have noises there than having no noise. I mean, WrestleMania 36 without a crowd or any noise was super obvious. It was wrong. It didn't feel right. But the piped in noises, I don't like it, but at the same time, I would rather have piped in noise, knowing to feel like at least there's a crowd there, than have no noise. So overall, I walked into this show loving it. I gave it 8.5 out of 10. I thought this was a great takeover. Like I said, the only reason it wasn't a perfect one was because, like I said, some of the matches on the show were not really takeover worthy. And there was some stuff in the, like, some nitpicks that I were not too fond of. But again, there was not really one bad match in the show. And like I said, the two War Games matches were easily the best things on the show. And even the matches in the male show weren't bad. They were all good matches in their own way. Just, I think, at least one of them, at least the Grimes and Loomis match did not feel takeover worthy. But that doesn't mean that was bad. But again, everyone's got their own opinion. But like I said, if you did not enjoy the show at all, then just do me a favor. Don't watch NXT anymore. Don't watch takeovers anymore. Or at least just don't watch anything that involves the pandemic. Because clearly, the pandemic is just not doing anything for you guys. And that's fine. That's fine. But I'm here to talk about wrestling, whether it's New Japan, AEW, WWE, and I'm here to give you guys my honest thoughts and why I thought the shows were good or bad. It doesn't matter. Look, WWE has been crap, but TLC could be a very good pay-per-view. Like the lineup they have, it looks like it'd be a strong show. AEW, their weekly shows don't really do a whole lot to impress me. They have a good match there, but sometimes it feels repetitive. But AEW Full Gear was one of the best pay-per-views they've ever done. You know, NXT, if I'll admit, the last couple of takeovers, pandemic takeovers, were good, but they were not a thing to scream home about. This was the closest thing we ever got to a great takeover. To like how Portland was, but clearly Portland was better. So if you didn't enjoy the show, then tell me why. Comment down below if you did not like the show, which again, I would be surprised if you didn't like the show, but if you didn't, tell me exactly what was about the show that you didn't like. And give me details. Don't just say, oh, this match sucked. Or there was a bunch of botches. Like, give me more details. Like, if you didn't like the Women's War Games, tell me exactly why you didn't like it. Explain. If you didn't like the triple threat match, let me know why. Because really, besides a couple of minor, some nitpicks in some matches, and just maybe one or two matches that didn't really feel takeover worthy, I just don't understand why this show wouldn't be a thumbs up. But again, everybody's different. I mean, for God's sakes, these are the same people that claim that WrestleMania 30 was one of the greatest Manias of all time, which in real life, if you really think about it, was actually one of the weaker ones. But because Daniel Bryan had his mullet, it was on like an A+ show. A+ show. So what do I know? Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm too old. Even though I'm only 25 years old. But again, I thought this was a great takeover. So again, give me your thoughts, guys. Tell me overall, did you like the show? Did you not? What did you like? What you did not like? What are some things you would like to see change? Is there any changes you would like to make? So maybe the next takeover could maybe learn and get better. Actually, one more thing. I forgot to mention this. Middle of the show, we have the lights going on and off, and we see it looks like a buzzard on a ramp, and we see a clock, and we hear hearing TikTok. So clearly, Karrion Kross is coming back, and also we got a Finn Balor promo saying that after Wargames, the Prince, it's all focused on the Prince. So Finn Balor, it looks like he's going to be wrestling again soon, which is great. He doesn't have to vacate the title. So we're going to get the NXT Championship back on TV, wrestling again, which is great. And now Karrion Kross seems to be coming back. So it looks like, if everything goes well, it looks like they might do a Finn Balor and Karrion Kross match for the next takeover, which I think that could be a lot of fun. Especially if we get Demon Finn Balor back versus Karrion Kross. I think that would be a kick-ass, fun David Goliath match for a takeover. That would be a big deal match. Last time I give this show an 8.5. I thought it was one of the better takeovers they've done this year. Takeover Portland was far better, but this was still a great effort. In terms of pandemic ones, this was great. But again, if you didn't like it, let me know down below. Give me details. But that's going to be it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So again, reminder, I'm going to be trying to do end of the year rewards. I'm going to do something different with that. Sometime later this month, I'm going to do an announcement on the Royal Rumble contest. So stay tuned for that. In terms of January, you'll be getting a Wrestle Kingdom review for Night 1 and Night 2. You're also going to be getting a Royal Rumble. I'll try to see if I can do Royal Rumble live reactions. I'll see if I can do Royal Rumble live reactions. Maybe Brand and I can do Rumble reactions together. And we'll react to both women and men's while we're doing the contest, kind of like what I did last year or this year. You know, I'll have live stream, I'll show our faces and all that. And we'll review the show together. We'll do a reaction to that and we'll do a review. So that's basically all. That's basically it. So all I'm going to say is take care of my peeps. Have a good night. And I'll see you guys next time. So don't forget to actually hit that notification button down below if you want to be notified when I'm making another video. So like I said, stay tuned for an end of the year rewards. There'll be a TLC review. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks. And like I said, then keep an eye out for a Royal Rumble contest information.